Vanessa Bryant has always been untouchable. For years, people saw her as the grieving widow who stayed above the drama, the woman who carried Kobe's legacy with quiet strength. No scandals, no slip-ups, no headlines that weren't about tragedy or charity. But now, that image just shattered because new footage has leaked, and it doesn't show Vanessa at a memorial or at a Lakers tribute or with her family. It shows her in a packed nightclub, surrounded by NBA players, laughing, dancing, and looking more comfortable than anyone expected. And here's the part that turned one shaky phone video into the biggest story in basketball gossip. She wasn't just in the same room, she was shoulder to shoulder with a current all-star, leaning in close while music blasted and cameras rolled. The clip is less than 30 seconds long, but in that half a minute, Vanessa Bryant went from untouchable to trending worldwide. The video first appeared on TikTok late Friday night. No watermark, no context, just a caption, "Vanessa Bryant at the after party." Within an hour, it had already crossed 500,000 views. By morning, it had jumped to Instagram and Twitter, and by noon on Saturday, mainstream outlets were calling it the footage everyone's talking about. What did people see? A grainy club scene, strobe lights cutting across the frame, music so loud the phone mic crackled. In the middle of it all, Vanessa, hair down, smiling, laughing at something whispered in her ear, and next to her, an NBA star with his hand hovering just close enough to spark debate. And that wasn't all. As the camera panned, fans spotted more familiar faces. A Western Conference starter, a rookie who'd just signed a major endorsement deal, even a veteran center known for his off-court antics. They weren't just in the same venue. They were in her circle, moving like people who'd known each other a while. The reaction online was instant chaos. Some fans defended her. She deserves to live her life. Let her dance, others were shocked. This is not the Vanessa we know. Not like this, but the loudest voices were the ones dissecting every frame. Who leaned in closer? Whose hand was where? Did that smile mean more than it looked? Within hours, freeze frames were everywhere. Zoomed-in screenshots circled the exact moment the all-star whispered something in Vanessa's ear. Blogs pointed out how comfortable she looked, how unbothered she seemed by the cameras around her. Comment sections exploded, and the timing made it worse. Because that same weekend, the NBA was running tributes for Kobe Bryant. Replays of his final game, highlight reels, players sharing Mamba mentality stories on their socials. While fans were posting clips of Kobe dropping 60, the internet was also sharing clips of his widow out at a party in the company of players young enough to have grown up idolizing her husband. The contrast was brutal, and silence only fueled it further. Vanessa didn't post. None of the players in the footage made a statement, not even a throwaway "just friends" or "crazy how things spread" caption. Nothing. And in 2025, silence doesn't calm a rumor, it accelerates it. By Sunday, the video was everywhere. ESPN shows joked about it, sports podcasts debated it, gossip blogs ran with headlines like "Vanessa Bryant moves on," an NBA stars party with the widow of Kobe. And the more people speculated, the bigger the story got, because this wasn't just a widow at a party, this was Vanessa Bryant, someone who had lived for years without a single public misstep, suddenly caught in a viral clip that nobody knew how to explain. And the deeper fans looked, the stranger it got. Other videos began surfacing, shorter clips taken from different angles, clearly from the same night. In one, the rookie guard passes her a drink. In another, the veteran leans in for what looks like a hug. On their own, none of these moments were scandalous, but together, they painted a picture people couldn't stop talking about. To some, it was harmless, a woman out enjoying herself. To others, it was a betrayal of Kobe's memory, of the image Vanessa had built, of the unspoken rule that she would forever remain frozen in grief. And that's why this clip exploded the way it did, because it wasn't just about what Vanessa was doing, it was about what people expected her not to do. And for the first time in years, Vanessa Bryant was no longer untouchable. She was a headline, she was a debate, she was a story the internet wouldn't let die. If the video was a spark, the reaction was the wildfire. Because within 48 hours, the story wasn't just circulating on gossip blogs. It had bled into mainstream sports media, late-night talk shows, and even the NBA itself. The clip of Vanessa Bryant dancing with NBA players had become impossible to ignore, and here's what made it spread faster than anything else: the silence. Vanessa said nothing, the players in the video said nothing, no one tried to clarify, no one tried to push back. And in the age of viral media, silence isn't neutral, it's gasoline. By Monday morning, sports talk shows were dropping sly references. One host opened his segment with, "The Lakers aren't the only ones celebrating this weekend." Another joked about the new new Mamba mentality being partying past 2 a.m. It wasn't just gossip anymore. It was content. But behind the humor, there was unease. Because Vanessa wasn't just anyone. She was Kobe's widow, the woman who had been photographed at every Lakers tribute, who delivered emotional speeches at ceremonies, who became a public symbol of strength after one of the darkest moments in sports history. She wasn't supposed to be the subject of club footage. She wasn't supposed to be in the same headlines as young players with reputations for nightlife. And that's exactly why people couldn't stop talking about it. Gossip accounts milked it for everything it was worth. They posted slowed down versions of the clip, circled players' faces, broke it down frame by frame. One viral post asked, "Whose hand is that on her back?" Another captioned a zoomed in screenshot with, "They look too comfortable." Fans debated endlessly in the comments. Some were outraged. This is disrespectful to Kobe's legacy. Some defended her. She's a widow, not a nun. She has every right to move on, and others just wanted drama. Forget Bronny and Zaya, this is the real NBA story now. By midweek, the noise had reached a point where brands started to notice. One sneaker company quietly postponed a campaign featuring the rookie caught in the background of the clip. According to insiders, executives didn't want their star trending for the wrong reasons. Another agent reportedly fielded calls from sponsors asking if Vanessa was now linked to his client. That's the power of perception. Facts didn't matter. The rumor had already been written, and the world was running with it. But here's where things turned even stranger. New footage kept leaking. One video showed Vanessa laughing with the same all-star, her hand brushing his arm as they leaned in close. Another clip caught her walking out of the club flanked by two players, one holding the door for her. A third video shot from across the street showed her leaving in the same SUV as a group of athletes. Were they friends giving her a ride? Were they more than that? The clips didn't prove anything, but strung together, they built a narrative that no amount of silence could undo. And the NBA hated it. League insiders whispered that Adam Silver's office had flagged the situation as a sensitive optics issue. Not because Vanessa had broken any rules, she wasn't part of the league, but because NBA stars were suddenly trending for something other than basketball, and the league has always been ruthless about protecting its image. Teams quietly warned their players to be smart about who they were seen with. PR reps reminded rookies that all cameras are rolling all the time, and behind closed doors, some executives even muttered that Vanessa Bryant was becoming a distraction. Think about that for a second. The widow of Kobe Bryant, who once symbolized everything noble about the NBA's legacy, was now being described by league officials as a problem, and the weight of that perception landed hardest on Vanessa herself, because for years she had been untouchable. She had lived in a bubble of respect, protected by the tragedy of Kobe's death, shielded from gossip by the sheer weight of her loss. But this footage cracked the bubble wide open. For the first time, strangers felt free to judge her choices, her company, her behavior, and once that judgment started, it didn't stop. Every time she posted on Instagram, comments flooded in. "Where's the all-star? We know what you're doing. Kobe's watching." Harsh, cruel, relentless. She could post a family photo and the replies would still drag the nightclub video into the conversation. By now, the footage wasn't just a viral clip, it was a symbol, a Rorschach test for whatever people wanted to believe. To some, it showed a woman finally enjoying life again. To others, it showed betrayal, disrespect, scandal, and the more people argued, the bigger the story got. Because this wasn't just Vanessa Bryant at a party, this was a battle over her image, over whether she could ever step outside the shadow of Kobe's legacy, or whether the world would forever keep her frozen as the grieving widow who was supposed to remain untouchable. And the scary part, that battle was only getting started. By week 2, the story had broken out of gossip circles and turned into something much bigger. What had started as a 30-second TikTok clip was now shaping conversations across sports radio, news panels, and even NBA press conferences. Vanessa Bryant wasn't just trending, she had become a storyline the league couldn't dodge. It began when reporters finally asked players about it. At first, the questions were casual. A light joke slipped in during a media scrum, but the reaction told everyone what they needed to know. One rookie laughed nervously and said, "No comment." Another smirked and shook his head, refusing to answer. The all-star at the center of the video brushed it off with a vague, "Vanessa's cool people." None of those answers killed the story. They made it bigger. Because in the court of public opinion, a no comment isn't silence, it's confirmation. Sports talk shows turned the hesitancy into a feeding frenzy. Hosts debated whether players were protecting her privacy or hiding something. Podcasts speculated excited about how long this has been going on. Gossip pages stitched together every comment into a timeline, as if this were a criminal investigation instead of a viral video. And through it all, Vanessa stayed quiet. Her silence, once seen as dignity, was now being interpreted as strategy. If it wasn't true, she'd say something, fans argued. Every day she refused to speak, the louder the speculation grew. And in the era of social media, silence is never neutral. It's an empty canvas people fill with their worst assumptions. The real damage, though, came from the headlines. Major outlets began publishing think pieces about the Vanessa Bryant dilemma. One described the situation as the collision of grief, celebrity, and the NBA's culture of nightlife. Another bluntly asked, should Vanessa be allowed to move on? The framing wasn't neutral. It was invasive, judgmental, and impossible for her to win. If she denied everything, people would call her a liar. If she admitted to anything, people would accuse her of betrayal. That double bind became her new reality. Meanwhile, more footage kept surfacing. A paparazzi clip showed Vanessa stepping out of a restaurant with two NBA players trailing behind her. Another video taken from a fan's phone caught her in a VIP section at a concert, again with familiar faces nearby. None of it was scandalous on its own, but layered on top of the nightclub clip, it built a story the internet wouldn't let go, and the backlash was brutal. Comment sections turned toxic. Strangers accused her of disrespecting Kobe's memory. Others mocked the players, calling them wild for chasing Kobe's widow. Memes exploded, some cruel, some mocking, all of them impossible to ignore. What had once been sympathy for Vanessa's grief had turned into a public trial of her personal life. But here's the part most people didn't see, the ripple effect inside the NBA. Sources say agents were furious. One called it the most distracting off-court story we've dealt with in years. Sponsors began asking direct questions about players' relationships. Teams, worried about brand image, quietly warned players to avoid being photographed with Vanessa at all costs. Even executives who had once spoken about her with reverence now saw her as a liability. Think about that. The same woman who had stood on center court delivering emotional tributes was now being described behind closed doors as a distraction. And yet, not everyone saw it that way. Some fans defended her fiercely. They pointed out the hypocrisy. NBA players have been caught in scandals for decades, but Vanessa was being torn apart for simply appearing in public. They argued she had every right to enjoy her life, to laugh, to dance, to surround herself with people who made her feel alive again. She doesn't owe anyone eternal grief. One viral post read, racking up hundreds of thousands of likes. But the internet doesn't work on fairness. It works on narratives. And the narrative was clear. Vanessa Bryant, untouchable for years, was now at the center of one of the messiest rumor storms the NBA had ever seen. By now, it wasn't about the truth. It wasn't about whether she was dating anyone or whether the players in the footage were just friends. It was about the image, the perception that Kobe Bryant's widow was out partying with the very league he left his mark on. And once that image set in, there was no turning back. The NBA could control player fines, suspensions, and contracts, but they couldn't control Vanessa Bryant, and that made her unpredictable. For a league obsessed with image, unpredictability is the worst case scenario, because what the league feared most wasn't what Vanessa had done, it was what she might do next. By the third week, the story had reached a point of no return. What started as a shaky 30-second phone video had snowballed into one of the most explosive scandals in recent NBA memory. And the fallout wasn't just hitting Vanessa Bryant, it was spreading to the players, the league, and even Kobe's legacy itself. The first blow landed on the players in the clip. Reporters began ambushing them with questions after games, at practice, at media day. Were you with Vanessa Bryant? What's your relationship? Do you think it's appropriate? For athletes trained to answer basketball questions, this was unfamiliar territory. One young star snapped back at a reporter, "Next question." Another tried to laugh it off, only to make headlines with his grin. Every attempt to dodge the conversation only kept it alive. Sponsors took notice. A rookie who had been in the background of one of the leaked videos saw his endorsement deal quietly paused until the noise died down. An All-Stars agent reportedly received a warning from a major brand. "We don't want our logo next to this drama." That's when agents and PR teams drew a hard line. No more photos, no more parties, no more casual appearances with Vanessa. Privately, some even advised players to block her on social media just to kill the narrative. But the NBA couldn't issue memos to Vanessa. She wasn't a player. She wasn't an employee. She wasn't bound by league image clauses. She was free to do what she wanted. and that made her unpredictable. And for a league obsessed with controlling perception, unpredictability is the one thing they can't stand. Behind closed doors, insiders say league officials were rattled. The problem wasn't legality, it wasn't policy, it was optics. Kobe Bryant was more than just a player. He was an icon, a global brand, someone the NBA still markets years after his death. And Vanessa, his widow, had always been part of that narrative. Now, for the first time, her image clashed with the story the league wanted to tell, and the public response was merciless. Comment sections stayed brutal. Strangers accused her of betrayal. Meme accounts mocked her. Fans of Kobe flooded her Instagram with comments like, "You're ruining his legacy." Every post, no matter what it was, a family picture, a charity update, even something about her daughters, was hijacked by references to the nightclub video. It was relentless. And yet, there were cracks in the backlash. Some voices pushed back, pointing out the double standard. NBA players are caught in scandals all the time. Affairs, fights, arrests, and fans move on. But Vanessa had done nothing more than dance at a party, and the internet acted like she had committed a crime. "She's a widow, not a prisoner," one viral tweet read. "Let her live." That post alone got millions of impressions. It became a rallying cry for people who felt Vanessa was being unfairly targeted, but even that defense carried weight because it admitted what everyone already knew. Her life was no longer private. The tragedy is, Vanessa never asked for any of this. She didn't leak the video, she didn't invite the speculation, but once the footage hit the internet, it didn't matter what she wanted. The narrative had already been written for her, and now her silence had turned into the loudest sound of all, because that's what people couldn't stop talking about. The fact that she hadn't said a word, not a denial, not an explanation, not even a joke to lighten the mood, nothing. And in the absence of her voice, the internet created its own answers. Some swore she was secretly dating one of the All-Stars. Others believed it was just friendship blown out of proportion. A darker corner of the internet even accused the league of leaking the video themselves as a distraction from other controversies. The theories were endless, but the truth, nobody knows. The only thing clear is that Vanessa Bryant, once untouchable, is now a headline the NBA can't escape. For years, she was the symbol of dignity, grief, and resilience. Now she's the center of a story that has nothing to do with Kobe, nothing to do with basketball, and everything to do with perception. And the cruelest part? This isn't going away. Every new sighting, every rumor, every whispered connection will be framed through the lens of that nightclub video. Even if Vanessa speaks out, even if she explains it all away, the footage will live online forever. And for the NBA, that means one thing: their most sacred legacy has collided with the internet's hunger for scandal. Because once a narrative takes hold, it doesn't matter if it's fair, it matters if it spreads. And this one isn't just spreading, it's rewriting the way people see Vanessa Bryant, the players caught in her orbit, and the league that can't control either.